And we're just starting in a comfortable seat, or you can lie down. I know a lot of people love to lie down in the beginning of our yin classes. Usually in a live studio class, I'll come in and everyone's already just on the ground, and I love that. Hi, Laura. Hi, Grace. Kendall's here.
Hi, love.
Hey, so good to see you all. Hi, yay. Okay, great. All right, we're starting our calming and our centering, just starting our grounding. Feel the earth beneath you. Feel the support from the Mother Earth. So, of course, Earth Day yesterday, we can continue that intention of gratitude for our Earth, our Mother. Starting to take deeper and slower breaths here. Maybe your eyes float closed. So rather than looking externally to be stimulated today, like we often are, or going inward in this practice. That might be difficult for some, to turn toward yourself and how you truly feel. And that's why we call it a practice. Just inhaling, bringing yourself to this very moment. Exhaling, letting go of anything that's maybe taking you away from this very moment. Letting go of your day so far, even your week. Just committing to be right here for yourself for just a little over the next hour, a little over an hour. Let's take a deep, deep breath and slow. So maybe inhaling for 4 or 5 counts. Let's exhale, sigh it out. Doing that 2 more times, inhaling really slow and deep. And a big one more time, breath in when you're ready. And then let it out audibly. See how that feels now after doing that quick little breath exercise. You might feel a little more invigorated, a little more awake, maybe a little more present. So continue drawing out the breath slowly, inhaling for 4, exhaling for 4, 5, or 6, your choice. No worries if you're just getting settled. It might take a while to wind down, settle into the practice, into the poses. It's a great time to be patient and compassionate with yourself. Let's take 10 more breaths with intention, deliberate breathing, feeling each moment of each breath. Beautiful. You can recall an intention at this point if you'd like. That can be a word or two or a phrase, something. It could be just gratitude for the earth or for what we have. Just whatever you might need today, hold it in, breathe in, breathe in. Holding the intention in your heart space. Exhaling. Release it into the practice, into your body, mind, spirit. So if you're lying down, you can slowly roll to the side. We're all going to come to a seated position. So let's just take your time. I'm just going to turn sideways so you can see this pose. So we'll have the legs stretched out long, and there's a few things you can do here. So if you have sciatica issues or tight hamstrings, maybe you roll a blanket or something under the knees. If your pelvis tilts back quite a bit like this, rather than coming up, you might want a blanket under your hips. You can always take one right under. That just helps take tension out of the low back when we fold. So we're going into a caterpillar pose, maybe a pillow or cushion nearby. We're going to take a deep breath here, let go of the feet, and then slowly, it's just a rounding. So think of just a caterpillar curling up. There's no goal to reach head to knees, head to feet, hands to feet, nothing like that. So don't worry about holding onto your legs and pulling yourself. We want to just cascade and fall into the pose. Think of that waterfall flowing downward, upper body just cascading down. And just settling here. So the amount of bending forward that you're doing depends on when you start feeling a little bit of resistance. So let's say I'm right about here. I feel maybe if I went further, it wouldn't really be good for me. So then I'll just drop my head, shoulders. And then you can even take a prop and put it right in your lap or over the knees or legs and fold. I really like that option because then I'm not holding tension in my shoulders and arms to keep myself in the pose. So these holds will be around like the 3 to 5 minute mark. This one about 4. Please remember, this is your practice and you can back off a pose, come out earlier, stay in longer, do something different. Just do what you need in your body today. You definitely don't want any pain, but it's okay if there's some discomfort, some intensity. Nice. Inhale it just wherever you feel this in the body. Bring the mind's attention as you inhale. Exhale, release some muscles, let go of something. You can think about upper body sinking lower and lower, even if it's not physically moving. You want to have that sensation of folding forward, feeling gravity pull you down, kind of thing. We're well into spring now. So just noticing how the spring energy moves in you. So spring has this energy of uprising, starting to become more yang. So plants reaching toward the sun. It's a strong tenacity. You've noticed plants pushing through cracks in a sidewalk or a tree kind of growing around a fence. So strong yet flexible. We want to be that in our practices as well. So just noticing if this time of year you find yourself with more energy, with less energy. Sometimes there can be like a wanting to jump out of the skin kind of sensation. Then it's a great time for your yoga practice, walking outside, being in nature, gardening, things like that. So observing with each season how we feel in our bodies. Sometimes we feel frustration arising in the springtime. Stuff in the head, headaches, migraines, allergies being stuffed up. We want to bring all that down into the body, ground ourselves, really get in touch with our feet, any body part connecting to the ground. We'll take a few more breaths here. I tend to talk a little more at the beginning of the practice to help everybody get into poses, practice the mindfulness, and then kind of saying less and less as we keep going. So take a few more breaths here. Hold it in that caterpillar pose. And then when we come out of the poses, I'd love it if you would think about coming out first, decide how you're going to do it, and then it's just deliberate and slow coming out of these. So I will press my hands into the ground for support, or you can press the prop and just slowly unroll the spine all the way up. And then settle here. Just feel this for a few moments. So if you need an upward stretch, you can take that. Otherwise, we're all going to meet on the floor lying down. If you want that upward stretch, knees bend, feet come to the ground, hands come a little behind the hips. You'll just lift hips up, get a front body stretch now. And then exhale, lower. You can come onto the backs and take a rest here. Okay, we're going to stay on the ground right now for the next pose. This is kind of hard to show you through the computer, but I'm going to be talking you through it. And we're taking a half moon shape, lying on the floor, reclining. So that'll give you an idea. It'll be kind of like a C shape with your body. And if you've already done this, then you know where to go. So we'll start bending our knees and then scooting our hips all the way to the right edge of the mat, bringing the legs back down. And then we're going to slide the left foot to the left corner of the mat. The right can follow. These are just approximations. You might cross the right over left, and then arms come overhead. You might scoot shoulders left. So you're making a half moon C or like a banana shape on the floor. We want both of our hips grounded. If one's a little off, that's okay. And an advantage, obviously, of an in-person class is people can kind of call out if they need help, raise their hand, or ask a question about the pose, for example. What is this pose targeting? Or how am I supposed to be here? If you have any questions, you can always press the little chat button and I can address. You can type in what you'd like to ask. So especially if you can't really see the pose, you're more visual and you're confused. I get it. We're all adjusting to this new way of living. I've really enjoyed taking others' classes lately. And of course, teaching my classes, it helps me so much to connect with you. So here we are, we're in a reclining half moon. You're probably getting a stretch on the right side of your body somewhere. So at this point, can you start noticing where that might be? You might feel like a pulling apart of tissues, or like a stretchy or even a deep, dull, achy feeling. Just nothing sharp, nothing shooting. Back off if you feel those things. If you've had acupuncture, I find that doing this practice when I lie down afterwards, or even in between poses, even during poses, I feel a lot of the same sensations, and we are addressing meridians in the body, stimulating them. If that's like a foreign concept, it's lines of energy throughout the body. If you look at a chart of them, it could remind you of like a blood vessels chart or some, capillary, stuff like that. So these meridians run through muscles, between structures like bones and tendons. wherever you feel this pose, like if, for example, it's on the side hip, you're getting into one of the meridians of the body. So on the side body, it's the gallbladder, and this really helps with spring issues, especially different pains, muscle aches, can help with restless leg syndrome, can help with neck tension as well. This channel runs along the neck on the sides. Remember that breath in these poses. That's your anchor the entire practice. Whenever you notice you're thinking about something, that awareness kicks in. That's a meditation, noticing. Then you come back to present with a new breath. More than halfway through here. Noticing if you're holding tension in the shoulders or hips. Can you take a deep breath in and let go? The breath is up to you. You can feel the breath just breathing the body softly. Sometimes you might need a deeper breath or a more forced exhale. Use your intuition. You just follow what your body needs, what your breath is calling for. Just one more minute here. About 10 breaths. So without too much movement or effort, please take your time coming out of the pose. Just slowly, you can bring your spine back to neutral in the center. And keep your knees bent or stretch them long. And maybe a moment of stillness. So you know what it felt like in the pose. What does it feel like out of the pose? This is also like the end stage of the posture. So feeling the effects of what just happened in the body. And then when you're ready, taking the other side and lying on the mat, bend your knees and then scooting hips left. Let your legs come down, drawing right ankle or right foot towards the right corner, left follows. And then arms come over, maybe you scoot shoulders right. You can hold on to a wrist or hand if you need to. And then we really work on relaxing the muscles once we're in this. So heavy hips, definitely. Oh, it would be even great to place a pillow or something on the hips. That could feel nice and grounding. I just thought of that. Shoulders relaxing onto the ground. Just like you would in like a spine twist, trying to keep shoulders heavy. It takes time to settle in. Give yourself anywhere from a minute or even 2 minutes. It can be half the pose. Finally find the stillness and settle. And explore what that's like. It's not like pressure to be still or competing with yourself to be still. It's more like being still and allowing things to rise up, allowing you to learn how you feel. When we move physically, the muscles have to engage. So that's why it takes a little time for muscles relaxing to find that deep tissue, fascia, connective tissue stretch. Breath, breathing the body. The chest is open here. You can breathe deeply if you need to. So it's about 1 more minute here. That's an option. Now, what does it feel like right now in this tissues that you're working in, that you're breathing into? Very different than when you first got here into the practice or even into this pose. Just observing, every moment is different. Nothing is permanent. A few more breaths here. Beautiful. When you're ready, slowly coming out of this, bringing the feet and arms back to the center, bringing the spine straighter and lying here. Feel what just happened. Beautiful. And then if you need to move, you can bring the knees in, rock side to side, use circling, any movement you like, or stillness if you still like that. So like I was talking about the spring energy, you might feel more today. So moving a little bit, maybe stretching in between poses suits you. If your energy is lower, that's okay too. Maybe you just lie in a pose in your resting phase or take child's pose at any point instead of movement. So eventually we're all gonna roll over onto the belly. So you can flip right over, you can come through a child's pose or cat-cow to get here. We're gonna find our Sphinx pose. So propping up on elbows, my props with my foot. That's the initial stage, and most of you have practiced yin. You probably know where you'd like to go, but if not, just practice this one. Your elbows are a little bit forward of the shoulders. They can be right under, just make sure you're not using back muscles. You'll notice the further you bring your hands back, it's a yang stretch, you're using muscles. Bring it forward, let the back go. Belly just relaxes into the earth. You're not using any pressure in the hands or any pulling sensations or motions. And then you just go from here. So it can be right here, it can be seal, slide hands apart, lift elbows a little bit or a lot. Or you can come up higher or take it out of the shoulders with a cushion. I like it just under my arms, so just kind of rest my chest over it, arms folded. You can also come down and rest your head. We're targeting that low back here. Notice where your feet are. They might have flopped open. That's perfect. It's just where they should be. Don't try to force them closer or further apart. Just let them fall where they go. Such a great pose for all of us right now. Even if you're exercising and doing yoga and going outside, there's still a lot more sitting than we'd normally do. So sitting is just really bad for the low back unless you're sitting on the floor. Cross-legged is like, you know, the way to tell kind of like the health of the spine and everything and the flexibility of the spine. And the hips as well, of course. But these poses actually are a tool for meditation. So all yoga, meditation is the goal. And here you are in meditation, being mindful, practicing drawing your mind back to present when it drifts off, feeling into the body, noticing the mind, the emotions. It's all meditation. The poses are just a tool so that we're more able to have flexibility to sit for long periods of time on the ground. So we're in Sphinx. I'm in Caterpillar still. Let go in the jaw, the eyebrows. Inhale, feel the breath uplifting. Exhale, feel that sinking quality of breath. There's upward and downward movements of prana or chi or energy. You can sense them in some of the poses more easily. Let's take about another minute in Sphinx pose. So we're getting all our spinal movements right in the beginning of class. We don't usually do that. We usually stretch them out throughout. So this will be really interesting to see how the body feels to do our poses coming up that are after the spine stuff. It'll be interesting. Maybe the eyes even close. You inhale into that low back, low spine, kidneys area. Exhale, feel the ground beneath you. Let the hips sink down, pressing into the earth. Ten more breaths right here. So coming out of Sphinx as slowly as you can, I'd like you to just unroll the spine onto the ground. If you've got a cushion under you, maybe you just push it forward and unroll. Slowly come down. Take stillness first if you can. bend our knees and do the windshield wiper. And then we'll slowly find a child's pose as a rest. So bringing hands under shoulders, gently lifting up, stretching hips back. We'll be here just 1 minute resting. So you're feeling into the spine, the hips, what's happening there? Good. So when you're ready, we're going to come up and then lie in the back again. So we're just kind of like rolling around on the ground. Love it. We're coming down. We'll take our twist. So we're taking it in the middle of class today. I'm kind of mixing it up a little bit. So knees can come in, and then you can let your knees fall to the right side. Take whatever variation you like. So you might have to scoot hips left a little, then let the knees fall. You might cross left over right and then let them go. Just find your pose, and you can prop this. So I really don't want you tweaking your low back. If your left shoulder is way off the ground, bring a prop under, and that just brings everything back over a little more to center. So then you just get that twist in the low spine. So find your way here. We'll just start the timer. Coming into that nice twist. So back to lying on the ground, working a lot in the side body. So back to that gallbladder. Using it to help release muscle tension, release any kind of tension in the head or face. Maybe you notice hips here, sinking into the earth. Feel that twist in the lower back, deep in there. Shoulders nice and heavy, head, back of the head, just so relaxed on the ground, so heavy. We've been here a good bit of time now. Maybe you feel this a bit differently. Maybe it's deeper or different sensations occurring. Remember that breath, calming any fight or flight. If any feelings of anxiety come up in the practice, just know that that can happen. Bring that breath into the body. Ground yourself in your physical body. Inhale, exhale, feel the earth. This is really important. And I was advised by him, I did an acupuncture appointment. Well, it was telemedicine with my acupuncturist, so clearly she can't put needles in me, but we did a consult and she can tell me what points to do on myself and everything. But she said it's a great time to really get grounded, like literally stepping on the earth with bare feet, putting your hands in the dirt. It's a perfect time of year to do this. So this week in class is, of course, all about grounding, feeling that. We've got about 1 more minute here in this twist to the right side. Few more breaths here. Take another inhale here. As you exhale, just starting to roll out of the pose, back to center, uncross if you cross the legs. Just rest here. So if it's discomfort in the low back when you're lying on the ground, you're gonna bend your knees, bring your knees together and feet out wide. The knees support each other and it releases the sacrum. You can come to that at any point in class, as well as child's pose. We'll get ready for the other side. So no rush when you're ready. Maybe the knees bend or you bring them in and you can start going to the left side. Whatever you did on the right, maybe it's the same or maybe it's different. If you're crossing, it's right over left, knees go left. And then please prop rather than tweaking the spine or rolling all the way to the left, propping, bringing shoulders back to center. Nice twisting. So we did our side bending, back bending, forward bending, and now our twist. Moving the spine in every single direction. I do like to include those in most of the in classes. So important. The spine literally holding us up, supporting us. Doing all these motions of the spine, really helping it as we age, kind of like anti-aging with the spine. So bringing so much goodness, fluids and blood. Keeping our range of motion is so important. That's why you're encouraged to go to kind of an edge in the pose. So it's true, if we don't use it, we lose it. That's why people get contracture, like frozen shoulder, less mobility, or really stiffness, stuff like that. Like I used to get stiff every morning, and once I started doing the yin practice, it's not a thing anymore. So we're at that point about a minute and a half in where you might feel this a bit more deeply, less in the muscles of superficial tissue. You might still feel a stretch through there. That's just a little bonus. It's not really the goal of the pose. So the goals of the pose: relax muscles, get in deep tissues, target certain areas, and breathe. Remember the tool of the breath. So if you feel like frustration or stuck energy in the poses, not relaxed or stiff or tight, use the exhale. Breathe in really deep, and then you can always just let it go. Let go of stagnation. Let go of thoughts that have popped in. Let go of old emotions that you're releasing and letting out. Our breath can be used for so much. It's a surrender, it's a letting go, it's a settling, a calming, a relaxing. It's such a beautiful tool that is available to us 24 hours a day. We have about 10 more breaths in this pose. Nice. Breathing steadily. A few more here. Nice. When you're ready, please take your time coming out, releasing, rolling back to center. You can stretch long or take that pose with the knees together, feet apart, knees bent. Awesome. Take rest. I'm so glad you all are here. Just wanted to say that again. This is amazing. Thank you so much. So we've been on the floor on our backs a lot. We'll actually, we're going to do some prone positions next. So you can start bringing feet to the ground if they're not there already. Roll to the side. And then your choice, some cat and cows or child's pose. So remember we talked about our energy. More energy, cat and cows. Inhale, drop belly, lift the chest and head. Exhale, round. And you just continue with your breath or take other motions if you need those. If you're tired, child's pose. And then we'll do one more spinal stretch in the upper spine this time, or thoracic. So we'll take our heart melting. It's a little shorter of a pose. Pad your knees if you need to. We're going to have our hips right over the knees, and then keeping the hips, knees where they are, walking or sliding hands out. Taking a breath here. Exhale, you're going to melt the chest down. So either head can come down, chin, or bring the floor closer with your cushion. Bring it right under. We want to feel something in the shoulders. It might be more subtle. Definitely an opening in the middle upper spine and an opening in the chest. Just take your time finding this one. I like to throw in at least one upper body pose. Some classes will have more, like a series, but for today, focusing more on the spine and the grounding, a little bit more in the lower body. So just breathing in here as you feel the heart open and melt down. Strengthening the lungs in this pose. So there is a stretch there, and then we're affecting the lung meridian as well in each side of the body through the arms. It's a big pose. A lot of them are, but this one can stir up a lot. So we're working with opening the heart. We also store grief in the lungs, and that is something that's coming up right now, grief. With if we're not able to work or do our primary work, that's a grieving things we had to cancel, or not being able to see and touch in person. Just let yourself feel, and if it's too much, back off, no worries. We're going to take about 1 more minute. That's just a suggestion and offering to you. 10 more breaths. And if you're resting, same. So come out slow once again, hands pressed down and then lifting chest up. You can move the prop if you need to. And then you walk the hands back. So maybe you do either child's pose with the arms alongside or lying on the front on the belly with the arms alongside. Just take it out of the shoulders. Maybe you turn the head one side or have the third eye down on the floor. So while you're in this position, recall that intention that you set at the beginning. Really breathe into that and feel it in your heart. And then physically starting to notice how the hips feel. So we have not done too much yet, just a little more hips with this twist. We're going to get into those hips. So let's come up to our hands and knees and we'll go into our swan pose. Drawing the right knee forward, and you might slide the foot over a little. And then I like to stretch my left leg back. So if you're someone that's kind of high up like this, that's okay. Just taking some pillows, a block, something under the hips. You'll probably then want a prop in front of you. So we'll take sleeping swan. Swan is the upright variation, and then sleeping swan, you're welcome to start coming down the chest. So prop can be great under the chest. If you need the floor to come closer, there's so many options. You can take some books under your cushion, make a pile, just find some way to settle in. And then if this is not the pose for you, lie on the back, cross right ankle over left thigh, and then pulling on the left leg, you'll get that outer hip stretch, the same exact stretch. If you can't reach the knee or calf, you can use a strap, a belt, or a towel to hold on. Would love your shoulders and head to relax down. So settling into this. Getting your bearings in the pose, you're finding that spot where you might be able to take some stillness. Make your way slowly. It's okay if you take 2 minutes to set the pose up. We still have time. On the exhale, feeling just like the body is sinking and softening into the earth, the ground. Just lay down any burdens that you might be carrying. Just let them go. Any negative thoughts about the self, just letting them go. Accepting the body can be very difficult. Just accepting what the body can do today. And being grateful for that. How does it feel now? So more than halfway through the pose, are you feeling any level of being relaxed or still here? Even though you're still doing work, so you could think of that swan, very graceful and beautiful on the surface, but below the surface, that paddling furiously. So there's a lot going on underneath. It's kind of like that metaphor for what we're doing in this pose, especially. Hip poses can bring up a lot of emotion. You can sit with it if it becomes too much, just like with a physical sensation. If that becomes too much, you can back off of the pose or come out. If you back off early or come out, just breathing mindfully still, and then bringing gratitude and acceptance and compassion. We'll take about 10 more breaths on this side. Last couple breaths here. So we're going to transition into the next pose carefully. If this transition doesn't suit you, then just you'll be coming to your seat any way that you'd like. So taking out props from underneath the hip or the chest and then pressing up. We're going to lean into the left hip, right hip, swing the left leg around front. And then come into just kind of stacking the legs so they might not look like this. They might be closer. This knee might even be up a bit. If neither can come down, take some props, put it under here, feeling it in the hips, definitely. So you just find your pose. So it can be knees closer, knees further. You can be in a cross-legged. Just remember which leg's on top. So you feel it in the hips, probably. You might just be here staying upright. You might lean or bend forward or even round. And we're going to be here a little shorter period of time. It's a little bit more of an advanced pose. You can prop with bolster if you're folded forward, bringing it to the lap or in front of you. We just loosened up the hip a bit in the last pose, and now we're getting a little more into it. So you might feel it in both sides here. You've got the left leg on top right now. So don't worry if you're the opposite. You can just switch next time. So there's a jaw-hip connection. Let go of that jaw and your hips will hopefully open a little more if you're clenching, that is. Just let it go. Make sure you can breathe out freely. So if it's too much, coming up on the hands a little if you're bent forward, or even coming all the way. We're doing a total of 3 minutes here, and we're about halfway through. So you can stay for another minute and a half. If anyone comes out of this pose early, you'll go to lie on your back as a suggestion, of course. 10 more breaths if you're still here in this one. 10 if you're not. And then we're going to get out of this. So just thinking about it first and then actually doing it. So if you're rounded forward coming up, we're all going to undo the legs and lie in the back for rest. So you might have to physically pick your legs up, put them in front. It's okay if they're stiff, just go slow. And then lie down. If you want, you can do a star shape, arms overhead, reaching to the back corners of the room, and legs are open, reaching to the front corners or of the mat or room. When ready, we have one more swan pose on the left, so you can start rolling over and coming around. Maybe you bring a couple props with you. Just gonna look at the chat real quick. Okay. All right, so from hands and knees, it's that left knee forward, right stretches back, prop under left hip, and then slowly coming down onto the prop or the floor when you're ready. So coming into that swan or sleeping swan on the opposite side. Let go of how you think it should feel. This side is going to be very different than the first. We're not symmetrical. We have dominant sides. There's no worries about that. I've heard a lot of people actually seem like they don't like the fact that they're different on each side, but it's really not a big deal. Got a couple people having to leave early. That's why I'm coming up here. Just continuing the breath here. We've been here like a minute, so you might have been able to relax a bit more and you might not. So just see where you are. Still taking that intention, breathing it into the body, into that area you feel this pose the most. Exhale, let it go. Awesome. This is one of my favorite poses. It may or may not be yours. Another good springy pose to do. Okay, so if you're in swan, sleeping swan, your arms can be supporting you. I really like a couch cushion or a bolster, and my arms are just kind of folded over it and my head is down. If you are lying down, you're crossing left ankle over right knee and then you're pulling. So I often find that my arms, when I'm in this swan pose, sometimes they even want to just kind of go back. Then I know I'm not holding in my arms. This is just an option. You don't have to do it. But I've noticed that sometimes that can be helpful to me. So I'm not like, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm holding myself here. You want to just like, oh, flop and let go. It's a great question. We've got about a minute to go in this one. Just sinking deeper and deeper. Nice. A few more breaths here. Good. So when ready, slowly bringing the chest back up. You can use the hands this time. And then we're going to do that little thing where we come onto the left hip. So taking the prop out if there's something there, leaning onto the left side, pulling right leg around. And again, so many options. So right leg's on top. If you're crossing the legs, right's on top. You can stack ankle over knee, knee over ankle. You can bring knees closer. Don't have to be completely folded down like that. One knee can be up, or you can prop with something under one or both legs. So feel into the hips, see where you want to go. You can stay up, lean forward, or round and fold. You can bring a prop under the head or arms or chest or lap. So we're kind of, it's called square or shoelace pose. There's square is more like when you stack ankle over knee, knee over ankle. Shoelace is more kind of like cow face pose on the bottom, Gomukhasana. You're stacking knees. So either one's appropriate or anywhere in between. Remembering, let go in the jaw, and then you can exhale into the hips a little deeper. Remember, a little less time here. So knowing that, we might be able to be a bit more mindful through the pose, just knowing it's just a little more time, about another minute here. Last couple of breaths here. Letting go one more time. And then coming out, maybe you use hands pressing down if you're rolled forward and come up. You can stay longer if you need. And then getting your legs out in front of you so you can roll down onto the back. Maybe a star shape. We just have a couple more minutes. So I wanted to offer a reclining butterfly. You can do this lying on your cushion or bolster, or just lying flat on the back, or take any other pose you want. So I like to bring the bolster or cushion right behind my tailbone. I like to lay back on it, and I'll bring my feet together, knees apart. If you're lying without a bolster, maybe the same, knees apart, feet together. And then I'm noticing, like kind of a sharp feeling in my hips. So I'm going to take blocks on either side. Maybe you make it a little more restorative, meaning it's less intense and it's more restful and relaxing. So just do what you need for this last pose. If you'd rather take Happy Baby or something that you didn't get to do yet, you can take it. I'm just going to check the time. Good. About 2 minutes here. And in the spirit of our spring practice, I just wanted to read a Mary Oliver poem, Such Singing in the Wild Branches. It was spring, and I finally heard him among the first leaves. Then I saw him clutching the limb in an island of shade with his red-brown feathers all trim and neat for the new year. First, I stood still and thought of nothing. Then I began to listen. Then I was filled with gladness, and that's when it happened, when I seemed to float to be, myself, a wing or a tree. And I began to understand what the bird was saying, and the sands in the glass stopped for a pure white moment, while gravity sprinkled upward like rain rising. And in fact, it became difficult to tell just what it was that was singing. It was the thrush for sure, but it seemed not a single thrush, but himself and all his brothers, and also the trees around them, as well as the gliding long-tailed clouds and the perfect blue sky. All of them were singing. And of course, so it seemed, so was I. Such soft and solemn and perfect music doesn't last for more than a few moments. It's one of those magical places wise people like to talk about. One of the things they said about it that is true is that once you've been there, you're there forever. Listen, everyone has a chance. Is it spring? Is it morning? Are there trees near you? And does your own soul need comforting? Quick then, open the door and fly on your heavy feet. The song may already be drifting away. So when you're ready, you can come out of the butterfly if that's what you're in, or anything else, just coming out of that. Feel that release in the hips, the energy flow through. And then we'll find our most comfortable position for relaxation. So you can keep the bolster or prop under you or take it out. Maybe you want to put it under your knees. Maybe you need a sweater or blanket, pillows under the head, just anything that makes you more comfortable. And we'll be here a few moments, just taking time to allow your practice and intention to absorb into your being, your body, mind, and spirit. Just letting go one more time. So just starting to stir a little bit. Maybe you take a deeper breath here. You can move fingers and toes, reawakening hands and feet. Circling wrists. Maybe point and flex the toes. Maybe turning the head to each side very gently. And then slowly letting your knees bend, bringing feet to the mat or the block or bolster. And rolling to the side in the fetal position. So symbol of rebirth. The spring is a beautiful time of rebirth, new ideas and creativity. When you're ready, pressing up gently to your seat, and we'll close our practice together. A comfortable seated position. You're welcome to bring hands together at the heart center with gratitude for your practice. May all beings be free of fear and harm. May we all be happy just the way we are. May we be at peace with whatever comes. And may we all live gently in the softness of our own hearts. Namaste. Awesome.